So, I have to say this is a rather big honor for me. Thank you very much, Mr.
Yep.
Gordon Smith, President of NAB,
Thank
who
you.
has come into our little studio here at IBC Connected World this year.
Delighted to be here.
It is phenomenal to have you here. It isn't
Okay.
often we get somebody of your caliber and knowledge that really understands on a global scale what is happening in the industry. So thank you for being here.
Well, it's my pleasure.
So I want to kick off with a very general question in terms of what you think is happening from an industry perspective that is really creating the major challenges for broadcasters in a multiple platform environment right now.
Well, I think it's first important to acknowledge that things are happening at such a hyper speed, and spectrum or broadband space is becoming such a finite commodity. And there are so many new platforms out there that people want to have access to watch the content they want to watch when they want to watch it.
Yeah.
And it is that challenge that really makes it important to come to events like this and the NAB show in order to catch up and to get ahead of this remarkable learning curve and investment curve in the broadband and broadcast space. And the world of tomorrow must be a world of broadcast and broadband
Yes.
if you're going to be faithful to the laws of physics
Yes.
and faithful to customers and viewers who want content again
Yes.
when they want, on the platform they have, anytime that it's available.
Gordon, do you think broadcasters are still fearful of the broadband? And I'm not talking about spectrum and who
Yeah.
gets what and all those debates that are happening on Capitol Hill, but generally from a deployment of content perspective, are they, from a commissioning creative perspective, still fearful of actually doing something that's going out here, here, and here, as well as on the big screen and the television?
I think it's true here on the continent and in North America as well that for so many decades we sort of had a monopoly on video. And because of that, the age of the internet, the fracturing of telecommunications, yes, there's an element of fear, but what we do at the NAB and at our show is try to get people past fears, because fears don't fill you with much faith in the future.
Yeah.
You got to have faith in the future and shape the future
Yeah.
instead of just responding to it
Yeah.
and watching your space decline.
Yeah.
Because again, you come back to all of the choices that are available to people.
Yeah.
And broadcasting has a very vibrant future in
Yes.
that, because our architecture of one to everyone in an area, local, free, large events,
Yeah.
that's something that broadband cannot
Yes.
replicate.
Yes.
And so I simply say, get beyond the fear, get into mobile,
Yeah.
shape the future in a way that will continue to draw the investment, continue to draw the ears and the eyeballs
Yes.
to the best content in the world. Because when you look at content, it is broadcasting in the United States that still enjoys the lion's share
Yes.
of viewership.
Absolutely.
So if you keep the content quality high
Yeah.
and you invest in the various platforms and distribution,
Yes.
broadcasting's future could not be brighter.
So I entirely agree with you. I grew up in the BBC.
Yeah.
And I think there is a very important role in broadcasting in terms of building and leveraging the community experience.
Yes.
Whether that's on a local level or on a national level. And again, that's something that cannot be managed from a broadband perspective in terms of that engagement, that trust into broadcasters on a local and network level. In the States, how do you manage to sort of come over the curve with the local broadcasters of saying, okay, you can actually go national with this
Yes.
without upsetting the big boys? And
Yes.
I know you can see where I'm coming from with that. How do you help them grow and seize those opportunities?
Well, really what you're talking about is the relationship that exists between our networks, the big content producers,
Yeah.
and the local affiliates that are different and unique and a part of every family and every television set in a community.
Yeah.
And it is something not unique to the States, but very important in the United States. If you want to have the news, weather, the sports, the emergency information, the entertainment that you count on, a lot of it is local content.
Yes.
And the networks that have the more national scope, I think, are now increasingly of the view that, you know, for distribution reasons and for that connectivity of our brand to a local community, we really need the affiliates, and the affiliates really need the networks, the
Yes.
gravitas
Yes.
and muscularity of a network brand, the BBC. It's very important.
Yes.
It adds credibility. It's sort of the good housekeeping
Yeah.
stamp of approval of
Absolutely.
journalism.
Absolutely.
And you can get news, and you can get local news on the internet, but you better know where to go,
Yeah.
and you better search for it, and it's not necessarily as reliable
Yes.
as the effort that broadcasters make as journalists, both locally and nationally.
So to that end, do you think that broadcasters are really engaging the commercial opportunity that the multi-platform environment enables for them, or are they still looking at more from a content perspective? And of course that's different in state versus local, regional, but
Some of them are waiting and seeing, and to figure out where to place their bets, if you will, on how this will develop in the future. But everyone with a stake in the broadcast future should be looking earnestly and aggressively and actively to figure out how to move into the future instead of having that future
Yes.
shaped by others who then develop their own brand and dominate a space and crowd you out.
Absolutely.
So the future does not go to the timid. You've got to be actively investing in research and development and investing in the platforms, the distribution systems, and the content quality. Those three things have got to go together, and no one company, no one platform can do it all.
Absolutely.
But broadcasting must do the lion's share of it in the future, simply because our architecture is so efficient when it comes to video.
Yes. In your recent speech at the NAB show this year, you said that the NAB had moved to become a house of engagement. What is your vision for NAB given this very challenging and yet creative time for broadcasters in a multiple platform environment?
Well, my vision is, whether it's in technology or helping our members to investigate the business consequence of decisions, or engaging in advocacy with our Congress, with the administration, no longer to be on the defensive, no longer to be fearful, but to be on the offensive and to shape the future.
Yes.
And so whether it's the business case, the technology case, or the advocacy case, broadcasters need to be organized, unified in all of those areas, and then shape the future. And that's what NAB's role is, and that's why we hope it's of value, not just to our members, but to the broadcasting industry worldwide.
Yes.
And the NAB show truly is a show for all corners of the world.
Yes.
This is a wonderful show here at IBC. It tends to be more continental oriented or hemispheric oriented, and we so welcome all of our European visitors and our Middle Eastern visitors who come to the NAB show. We want them to continue, because that's where content comes alive, and you begin to see where the future will distribute it.
Absolutely. And without a clear vision, the people will perish, to quote
That's right.
another good speech of yours.
To quote the book of Proverbs, without vision the people perish. So
Absolutely.
we try to make sure that the vision of tomorrow is on the bright beam headlights.
Yeah.
And that's the great role of shows like this and the NAB show.
Excellent. Gordon, it has been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for your time and insight into your thoughts and ideas and vision of how the NAB is helping broadcasters globally, as well as content publishers and providers around the world, really understand and engage how to seize the opportunities in a multiple platform environment. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure to be here.
Thank you.